Okay, guys, this is the first video for trigonometry here. So this is the first video for MBF3C. Mr. Loupos here talking to you in our quadmaster, a little bit different here. So we went over all this stuff. The purpose of this video really is to get to the at-home work, but let's just go over a couple things. We did that in class. Little prerequisite skills. We talked a little bit about depression and elevation angles, angle of elevation, angle of depression. Remember that this one's kind of easy. The angle of elevation is from the horizontal up. What gets kids sometimes, and adults, what gets people sometimes is the angle of depression. What you're looking at is from the horizontal down. Okay, so what people want to do a lot of times, like I mentioned in class, is they want to think that this is the angle of depression, but the reality is this is the angle of depression. It's from the horizontal down. Remember, we were saying if you look straight and then you turn your head down, it's the angle that you've turned your head down. So that's the angle of depression. Okay, so that's just that. If that comes up, that's great. Sine law, we went over that. The key to sine law is that you need a pair, an angle side pair. So let's say I knew this and I knew this. There's my pair, my b's. Big B is the angle, little b is the side, and then I would need one more thing, and then I could solve for the fourth thing. So if you know three things, two of them being a pair, then we're in great shape. Don't forget that sometimes if you know an angle, like if that was 30 and that was 70, and let's say that I knew this was 5 meters, and you say, do I have a pair here? Well, it doesn't look like I have a pair here, because I have this side and I don't know this angle. But remember that if I know this angle and this angle, if I know two angles in a triangle, then I know the third, right? So these are 100 and they add up to, oh, I don't even know how I did that. And the total angles in a triangle add up to 180. These are 100, that leaves me 80 over here. And then I have my pair. Okay, so that's sine law. We'll do that. We'll get into how to do that in the review work or the extra work. And sine law, two different versions. Cosine law, also two different versions. Cosine law is used not when you don't have a pair. So remember, we didn't do SOHCAHTOA too much in this class. We just touched on it a bit, but I'm not going to test you on SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA is for right angle triangles, and you did enough of that in grade 10, I'm sure. But if you don't have a right angle triangle, or even if you do have a right angle triangle, you can use a sine law or cosine law. And again, sine law requires a pair, an angle side pair. Cosine law is when you don't have that pair. So there are three different versions of triangles that don't have pairs, where you have three pieces of information. If you have if you don't have three pieces of information, you can't solve a triangle, right? But if you have three, then you're good. So for example, I could have all three angles, I could have all three sides, or I could have two sides and the angle between it. Okay, remember, just going back 2 seconds, if I have two sides and an angle, actually I have three pieces of information because I can figure this guy out, right? Now we can't solve this. We can't solve this triangle because we don't know a side length. So this triangle can't be solved, okay? Because you can zoom in or zoom out and have an infinite number of triangles in this case. So you need at least a side length. This one here has three side lengths, no angles. That's cosine law, number one. This one here looks more like a fish than a triangle, but that's a triangle. You have two sides and an angle, and you don't have a pair. So this is what we call two sides and a contained angle. In this case, you can go over and find this third side, and you do that by using this version of cosine law. Okay, and if you don't have an angle at all, and you have three sides, you have these three sides here, you can find any angle you want with this version of the cosine law. So you got to set this up. So we'll do that in a second. Okay, so let's go over the questions that were assigned for you. So we did all this in class, and now we're here. So question number 1, true or false? Can you solve? You can solve a triangle using the sine law if you're given the length of all three sides. You need a pair, so three sides is cosine law. So no, you do not. You cannot solve using sine law. So that guy is false. You can use sine law or cosine law to solve a right triangle. Yes, you can. Okay, so remember that a right triangle looks like this, and if I have some information of this right triangle, this is just 90, right? So this is 90, so that's an angle. So if I have three things and one of them is an angle, I can go ahead and I can solve things using cosine law or sine law on a right angle triangle. An angle of elevation is always measured from the horizontal. So again, from the horizontal up, that's your angle of elevation. So that is in fact true. So let's solve some problems here. Find D. So we're going to find big D. Remember that big D, any big letter represents an angle. So here I want to find an angle, and I look here, and what do I have? I have 3 sides, so no pairs, so no sine law. I have to go ahead and set this up using cosine law. So remember, in any question we're doing, what you do, the first thing you write down is what you're looking for. So in this case, it's big D, and because it's cosine law, it's going to be cos D. And then we go back and we look at our version of the equation for cosine law up top, and it was a squared plus b squared minus c squared over 2ab. Okay, and you'll have that in front of you. But now you just got to figure out what am I going to sub in instead of a, b, c. So let's label these guys. Across from big E is little e. Across from big D is little d. Across from big F is little f. So remember when we set this up like this, there's big D here. The only time you see little d is over here. And then after that, you use the other sides. So that's going to be e squared plus f squared minus d squared all over 2ef. So our version that you're given says a and b. It says b and c. So it's the 2 sides that aren't associated with the angle. Okay, so I'm using this angle here, D, so the associated side is little d, and the only time you see little d is over here, and then E and F go here and here. You could swap these out. This could be F squared plus E squared minus D squared, and you could swap these out too, and this could be FE. It doesn't matter, but it does matter that you have that D squared here. Then you just sub this in. Oh, I almost tripped. Sorry. Cos D is equal to little e squared, which is 9.6 squared, plus f, so just be careful here, 8.7 squared, minus little d squared, which is 6.8 squared, all over 2, 9.6, 8.7. Okay, so for this one here, what you want to do is go ahead and get the top and the bottom on your calculator. So I'm going to, just drop my calculator on the ground. And I'll get my calculator. Sorry, I gotta bend over and get it. So here's my calculator. Pull it out real quick. I'm gonna pause this video at 1 second. All right, so you throw the top into the calculator, you throw the bottom into the calculator. I forgot to write these down, but you get 2 numbers here, and when you divide them, you get 0.728. That's what cos D is. So whenever you're looking for an angle, you have the second function of the trig. So hit second function cos. 0.728 or 0.728 second function cos, and when you throw that in your calculator, you will find out that D is equal to 86 degrees once you round, 85.8 or something like that. Ish, okay? Within a degree, that's fine, right? Because of rounding issues. Okay, so that's that. This one here is going to be another cosine law. I know that because I don't have a pair. Whenever you get used to seeing these, when you have the 2 sides like this and the angle there. So I'm looking for little a, so again, write that down first. Our version of cosine law is already set up to solve for a, so you don't have to do much thinking here. You just write down the version that we have in our notes that goes like that, and then you go ahead and remember that B is over here, but again, it doesn't matter if you get B and C mixed up. And then sub in, that's 26, and that's cos 37. And then what you're going to do is take this whole thing and grab your calculator, and this is still a squared is equal to that, so don't hit anything. Just go ahead and type this in as you see it. So 21 squared, where's my squared button? Plus 26 squared minus 2 times 21 times 26 times 37 cos, and then equals, and that's wrong, so let me do that again, 21 squared plus 26 squared minus 2 times 21 times 26 times 37 cos equals 244. So that's 244, and that's what a squared is. So then take the square root of that. A is the square root of 244. That looks like a 9, but it's not. It's square root. So you can do all this in your calculator, and and you get 15.6, 15.7 area is your answer. Okay, so that's that. And then moving on to this last question here. You do have a pair, so we're in great shape for sine law. I have this guy here, so the third thing is this is little m. Let me just label this little m, little l, little k. And what you have is the k pair, and you have big M, or sorry, little m, so that's a little m. And the only thing you can get right now is big M. So you're going to write that down, and it'll be sine. Remember, anytime you have a big letter, you're going to put sine or cos with it. In this case, it's sine, and that's over little m equals sine. Use the pair now that you have, and the pair is the k's. So there, make a big k there and a little k here. And then sub in sine. That's sine m, I don't know. Little m is, what, 18.6. Sine k is then sine of 42 degrees over little k, which is 14.7. Move one thing, just this guy. So I have sine big M is equal to sine 42 times 18.6, all over 14.7. Grab your calculator. And just simply put that in. So don't hit second function, just hit 42 sine, or sine 42 times 18.6 divided by 14.7 equals, I get 0.85. And then at that point, you have to hit second function sine to find out what m is. So whenever you're solving, you hit it. You hit second function. Whenever you're not solving, like in this case here, don't hit second function. And I got 58 degrees, about, give or take. Okay, that's what I got. So that's big M. So that'll be 58. And then what you would do then is say that 42, to find the third angle, you have big L, and that's 180 subtract, I don't know what happened there, 58 subtract 42. So 58 and 42 is 100, so this one's a nice even number. It's going to be 80. So big L is 80. And the last thing you're going to do, and I think I have enough time in this video to squeak it in, is to find little l. So there's big L. Hopefully your work's a little nicer than mine. You're going to find little l. And little l, we're going to use sine law once again, is over big L, sine big L. Because don't forget that if you write a capital letter, it has a sign in front of it. And then you use either pair. I'm going to use the k pair. So I'll go little k over sine k, big K. Now you could skip that step and go straight into this step if you're advanced. Big L we found out was 80, we said, right? And then little k was 14.7 and 42. So what I'm looking at here is I just kind of flipped this version here. These are the k's. You could use M. There's no reason not to. I tend to use the one that I used though. And then again, you're just going to move the one guy and move it up here. So that's going to be L is 14.7 sine 80. So my writing's getting a little sloppy here. Over sine 47. So I just moved that up, and I'm going to throw this in a calculator. And again, because I'm not solving for sine, because I'm solving for L, which is a side, I don't hit second function. I just hit 80 sine, and then I hit 47 sine. And then when I throw that in my calculator, I get the answer right away. And it's just 19.8-ish. Again, depending on where you round or when you round, you can be up or down a little bit, and don't worry about it, okay? You can be up a degree or up a tenth of a centimeter or down. So those are my sides and my missing angles there. And that's it, okay? So that's everything. If you're good with that, you're good for the test, okay? Because that's it. It's just sine law and cosine law. Just go over the other stuff, some of the word problems, but they're all the same, okay? Okay, take care.